Alright, hello everybody, and in today's video we are going to talk about how we can avoid a disastrous December. Basically, November's been a torch, and long-range models say there is little hope in sight for December, but lately there's been a little bit of hope. So let's look at why. Well, first of all, it all comes down to teleconnections, it all comes down to sea surface temperatures. That's what dominates our pattern. You wonder why November has been so warm? It's because the PNA has been negative and the NAO and AO have been positive. Everything has been in the unfavorable phases, and that explains why we've had such a horrible pattern in November so far. So, is that going to flip as we head into December, as we head into the valuable months of winter, let's just say? November, that doesn't matter how much for most of us. December, on the other hand, now we start talking about wasted months when we talk about unfavorable teleconnections, like we've had a lot recently. So, let's just jump right into it. Starting with the PNA, this is debatably the most impactful teleconnection you can have. It really has sent the last few winters off the rails, basically. And the PNA, along with the MJO, have been really the reason behind that. So let's talk about the PNA. As you can see, it has been negative. It continues to be negative. However, this is looking at the GFS ensemble. You can see that it actually goes positive right around the time that we turn into December. We need this to be positive if we want to have a good pattern in the east. You know, if we want to have ridging out west, that's what the PNA does. When it's negative, you get troughing in the west. That's what we've had a little bit of. They've still had relatively normal temperatures compared to the east and central U.S. that have been torches. But when it's positive, you can have a little bit more troughing in the eastern U.S. and ridging out west. So, the PNA perhaps going positive. That is what we need to see the Euro ensemble overall on the same page. We'll see how long it can stay positive. But heading into early December, it looks like the PNA is going to be positive. Now let's take a look at the NAO real quick. NAO, everybody always talks about, oh, we're going to have a negative NAO. Everything's just going to be everything's going to be fairy tales and snow and for everybody. No. Okay. Let's look at the NAO in the past 10 years. We have not had a negative NAO in December since 2010, I believe. So the past basically 9 Decembers have featured a positive NAO, and you wonder why March is the new December, basically, because we actually see storms in March, it seems like, and not December anymore. December is kind of fading away, and that's why it seems like it, because the teleconnections have been in bad phases, in unfavorable phases, for quite a while in December. So, is that going to change? Well, it looks like the NAO is still going to be a little bit positive. Now, this only goes out to the 6th of December. Let's take a look at the GFS extended, though. This actually just came out, so it's almost like a long-range GFS ensemble, basically. It goes out to, I think, almost like 1,000 hours or something. So this goes all the way out till Christmas, basically. You can see that the NAO, of course, has been positive. That's why we've had such a torch November, basically. However, maybe it can go negative. The GFS ensemble does have a little bit of a tendency to favor maybe a little bit too much eastern U.S. cold. Maybe be a little bit too, sometimes it just looks too good, and then it's kind of like the CFS. But take it for what it is. It has the NAO at least going neutral heading into December. That's good. It's all about getting the more you can get on your side, basically, if you want to have any shot at snow in December. So, I want you to ignore these GFS storms at hour 300. Ignore what you ever see. It all comes down to the teleconnections. Everything is going to follow the teleconnections. Okay? By everything, I mean, oh, that storm that you see at hour 160. Well, if the teleconnections are all in unfavorable phases, it ain't going to happen probably. Okay, so let's just look at the teleconnections right now. This is a prime time to do this. Now let's look at the AO. Pretty similar to the NAO. Maybe going neutral. Now this is the Euro ensemble. Still a little bit positive, but that only goes out until the 4th of December. So, and then now let's look at the EPO, because the EPO also matters. And unfortunately, it's looking like the EPO may stay positive. Maybe the GFS has it going neutral, but we want that EPO to be negative to have a shot. Okay, so when you look at the Euro weeklies, everybody knows the Euro weeklies typically look like trash. And basically, you can see that they have the EPO being positive. That's not what we want. NAO being positive. That's not what we want. PNA being negative. That's not what we want. And AO being positive. So you wonder why it looks like trash. Well, that's exactly why, because nothing's favorable on the Euro weeklies. So that's basically where things look. Now let's take a look at the MJO, because this is really lines up with what we, it really impacts what we see in the winter. Now, in La Nina, you are more likely to have stronger phases 5 and 6. That's just how La Nina is. But luckily, that doesn't look like to be too much of a danger heading into December. We're heading into the circle of death. Basically, that means that there's little impact. And as we head into the monthlies, perhaps it could be going into phases 6 and perhaps 7. So you really want it to go into phase 7, because phase 6 and phase 7 are basically opposite, especially phase 6 and phase 8. But phase 6, yeah, that looks like what you see on the long range models right now. Just a complete torch, maybe some average temperatures out west, but just a complete torch. That is not what we need if we want any shot at seeing any cold or snow in the east in December. We needed to get into phase 7 because, first of all, if you have below average temperatures in the northern plains, that's going to suppress the storm track a little bit south. So then, if you're, say, in Ohio, Pennsylvania, New England, anywhere in the Northeast, or even the upper Mid-Atlantic, or in the Midwest, you're going to have more of a shot at seeing some snow, rather than if you're in phase 6, that low pressure is just going to cut right through the Midwest like we're seeing right now. You're not even going to have a shot at that low pressure staying suppressed south, and maybe following, say, from Cincinnati to, or maybe from Charleston, West Virginia to Richmond, Virginia. Anything like that would actually give places near and above DC or New York City any snow. So you really want to get into phases 7, especially 8, but that's not really what we're looking at. So we'll see if we really do go into phase 6, because that would not be good. But it's not looking like we'll be in phase 6 if we even do for a while. So that's how things are looking. Basically, the PNA is looking better than it has, and if it can go into positive phases, and the NAO and AO can at least go neutral, we might be able to pull off a decent December. And by that, I mean, just enough cold shots, just enough consistent cold to the point where the storm track might be suppressed far enough south that we actually do have a shot at a decent snow event in places, especially north of the Mason-Dixon line. In the Northeast, and say like Ohio, not really the upper Midwest, because they might be actually well north of the storm track, but we'll see. So now let's look at these fancy maps. If you've continued to watch the video, we all know the Euro ensemble. Yeah, it can get a little bit warm in the long range, but I've been doing long range maps for a while now, and unfortunately, the Euro ensemble, unfortunately for us, it has been a little bit more accurate than the GFS ensemble, you could say. So let's look at the GFS ensemble. We all know that basically Thanksgiving, a little bit after that, is going to be a torch. Now, will this end though? Because after that, we're going to have a cold shot coming into the eastern U.S. And then can we hold that off? Maybe we get a tad ridging, say 30th, but I doubt it. And then after this is when things start to matter. We start to flip into December. Maybe we stay normal on the East Coast. You see this area of below average temperatures in the Southeast. That's pretty funny because that's basically the opposite of what you'd expect in a La Nina, with above average temperatures, in the northern plains and below average in the Southeast. It doesn't make too much sense, but maybe the teleconnections make a little bit more sense. So let's look at maybe what that actually would mean. Yeah, I know I'm talking so fast because, this is something exciting. Anyways, this is what that would look like. Now, I hate looking at hour 384. I'm like, oh god, let's look at hour 384 and this. No. Alright, but anyways, we're talking long range, so let's do it. You see a little bit of troughing in the east. This is what we need. This is the PNA working its magic. You see ridging out west. We have to have ridging out west, and the trough axis has to be far enough east, but not too far east to the point where only New England gets cold, but far enough east where it dips, and the trough axis is like, say, Ohio, Indiana, maybe Western PA. That's where we could get that storm track to be suppressed south. So that's what the GFS ensemble has tonight. And I say tonight just because it changes so much, but it makes sense given the PNA is expected to go positive all around. Now, yeah, this is what you're going to see basically on some people. Oh my gosh, you have this big storm coming at hour 384. Okay, let's ignore that. The reason behind that is, yeah, things are looking favorable, but ignore the story. There's no point. Just for now, look at the temperature anomalies and look at the overall pattern. Let's look at the Euro ensemble. Yeah, I already kind of spoiled it for you. Basically, I think that there's going to be a little bit more cold after, say, the 28th in the east. And then how long that sticks around really depends on how long the NAO and the AO take to go neutral, or maybe negative, but I doubt it. Probably neutral. Whether or not the MJO goes into phase 6, because if it does, things are not going to be doing well. And whether or not how long the PNA can really stay positive. So this is what it looks like for maybe the 29th, say. You can see we start to get a little bit of troughing in the east. You have average temperatures. Wow, average temperatures. Imagine that. I say imagine that because I seem to remember, this being the look for November here. If we look at, let's see, month to date. Yeah, this is November. So average, that's a big deal. Okay, that's a big deal. So we get into late November. This is heading into early November. You're like, oh my God, the Euro ensembles actually has cold in the eastern U.S. What is this? At hour 282? Okay, so how long can this last? Well, this actually develops a little bit more cold in the east. Maybe because teleconnections maybe could be looking a little bit better. I don't know if it's probably not out yet. This is still 12Z, and let's look at the PNA. So yeah, it actually has going a little bit more positive. You wonder why things are looking better, because before it had the Euro ensemble had the PNA staying negative, now it has going positive. So that's exactly why. So how long can this last? Well, I feel like there's like a long range tendency for the Euro ensemble to flip things a little bit too warm compared to what it should actually be in the east. And there actually is a few degrees too warm bias in the east, as along with like on the GFS ensemble, it's actually the opposite. So in the west, there's actually a bias of where it's too cold, too warm in the west. But anyways, so here's the Euro ensemble. This is fresh out tonight. Heading into early November, you're like, wow, what is this actual average temperatures? Maybe a little bit below average. How long can this last? Well, it has maybe, gone by December 4th. But, it's not all about these maps. It's about how long can that PNA stay positive. Forget, we're back to, all this orange. No, forget about that. That won't make any sense if the PNA can stay positive. It's just going to flip blue if the PNA can stay positive. This is also hour 348. Let's just refresh it item at. Yeah, so it gets even warmer. Okay, does this look like it would make sense? Maybe not. Let's talk about like the whole, like North America as a whole, and then look at temperature anomalies. It basically has literally the entire continent being above average, so we'll have to see about that. But anyways, this has been an update basically on how things are looking heading into December. What we need to happen is the PNA to go positive and stay positive, the MJO not to go into phase 6, and if it does, it needs to head into phase 7, but it doesn't look like it's going to be too strong. We'll see where that goes. And we need the AO and the NAO, which are basically following each other because they're both in the same general area. We need them to at least go neutral. That's how we're going to get a decent December. It comes down to that. Forget what you see at hour 360 on the GFS, how this, this great storm, forget all that. This is what it comes down to. This is what you need to follow if you're into weather, or if you even want just a decent December. And we'll have to see where things go. Everybody, thanks for watching. Stay tuned for more, including our official winter alloc here in a few weeks, probably now that I actually have some time. And feel free to subscribe to the channel if you want more updates, everybody. This has been Forecast with Josh Adams. Thanks for watching.